Hello, everybody. Welcome to Under the Hard Hat. I am Tariq Ibrahim with my co-host Ammar Omar, and we are
Hello.
having an incredible show for you today. Now, Ammar, do you want to start talking about some of these things, or do you want me to jump right into it?
I'm still getting better at this, so I'll let
So
you
you're so
start.
you're warming up with your coffee right now.
Yes, sir.
No, absolutely. So, guys, we have a really important show for you today. We are going to talk about a couple different subjects in the engineering firm. Some things related to what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now. Some things related to things happening in Canada at the same time. But we really want to spend time and just ask Omar the most important question that you can ask anybody in this industry right now. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. That's very important.
No, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
that is very important. And in your industry, I'll ask the same. How are you doing today, Mr. Omar?
Oh, doing great. Doing great. Doing great. No, absolutely. We recently opened up an office in Toronto,
Toronto.
and Toronto is
Yeah,
the
no.
yeah, that's the capital of Ontario. That's a big thing for people in Canada. There's
So,
basically only two cities in all of Canada. There's Toronto and Vancouver. So having our office
excuse
in
me,
downtown
and there is
Toronto.
Edmonton. Excuse me,
Oh,
sir. And there is
yeah.
Edmonton. Excuse me.
For optimistic people, there's Edmonton. Some people will even say
Wow.
there's Windsor, but they begin to stretch it a bit.
Well, for the people who don't know where is Toronto from where you live, it's 4 hours away, right? Northeast of our beautiful city of Windsor, Windsor, Ontario. And let me know how does it feel these 4 hours of driving? Is it different when it comes to business? Did you see the is it the same thing? You just continue doing what you're doing? It's a 4 hours
You know,
drive. Shouldn't make a
yeah,
difference or does it?
it's huge, right? So this, so it's funny. In my mind, before having my office in Toronto, that 4 hour drive was a moment in my life where I would always contemplate committing suicide. It'd be like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I think I'm done. I think I'm just going to get off the highway, jump off a cliff, and call it a day. I'm all done with
Alas.
this drive. But now that I have an
Okay.
office there, it's become like 4 hours of complete motivation and hype,
Mm.
to be quite honest. Like
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
great.
getting myself excited. I'm like, okay, here we go, going to the big city. But eventually that might fade away if I don't make it worth it quicker than later. But we're on a good trajectory, to be honest. So
And
thankfully we're on a
what?
very good trajectory.
How do you get there? Do you Robert Q or do you take the bus or you drive? How
No,
do you
no.
get there?
So I'm constantly experimenting with different modes of
Okay.
transportation. So
Yeah.
I've driven twice, taken the train once, and I constantly contemplate flying, to be honest.
Mm,
But the only
mm,
problem with flying is that the flights are so like I don't know who they actually design flights for. Like they're not designed for working people because the last flight leaves
yeah.
at least I think around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And
Yeah.
people are still working at 5 o'clock. So for you to go to
Yeah.
an airport at 5 o'clock, that means you ended your day at 3, and no decent working
Yeah.
person is
At
ending their
two.
day at 3. So I
At
don't know who these flights are for. So it's so annoying, but I would love to be able to just go and come in an hour. That seems like a great
uh,
idea.
do you
But
think somewhere in the future we would be able to travel that fast? Like you can go from Windsor to Toronto
it's
in
amazing.
30 minutes?
Yeah, you should be able to do it. Look. I was in China, and what was done in a 6 hour drive, like I put in my GPS location, and it was 6 hours. I did it on a bullet train in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Wow.
So the will all it needs is willingness from this country to say, hey, let me improve the life of all my citizens, let me give them a bullet train, and it's done. It's done. Everything, like you could live in Windsor comfortably, commute to your work, an hour
Huh.
commute on a bullet train, and come back, and everything's done.
How's
So
the experience traveling in the bullet train? I mean, I'm sorry, but I never been to China. My father did been to China, and he always had great impression on China. But how does it feel on that bullet train? Were you scared? Did it give you any I don't know, nausea or anything, or you just it was
you
comfortable?
don't even feel it move. So when you go on the Via, that's the train here in Canada. When you go on
Yeah.
that train, it goes back and forth and back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
feel every bump on the track. Like if there was a rock on it, you would feel it. You go on this bullet train, and they have different categories of classes. So it's not just
Mm.
first class and business class. There's like 4 or 5 different categories. So
Oh
they
wow.
really give you options to spend. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot
Okay.
of options. So
Okay.
you go on there, you pick your class, you sit down. So I experimented with 2 different class sets of seats,
Mm.
and no matter what class you got, the seats were in pristine condition.
Mm-hmm.
The service was 10 out of 10.
Mm.
Everyone's super polite. Nobody's standing and over cluttering. You're not having BO smell from. No, no, no. You're very happy, very comfortable. There's washrooms available. Everything's great, and you don't feel it move. And then they give you the speedometer on top, 350 kilometers an hour, and you just lose your mind that you're going so
Uh,
fast and you don't even feel it. You don't
what
even
was the
feel it, and it's never
what's the
late.
technology behind it? Is it magnetic fields that pushes it forward, or it is what
Oh,
it is like this, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just it's flying. It's almost hovering above the track. Like I'm not sure how they're doing it, but it is so fast, so smooth, and precisely on time. Like it is
Internet
always on
connected,
time. Yeah.
internet connected all the time. I
Yeah,
hope.
and it's
I would
and you
assume.
never ever have to worry about anything. Like it's a guarantee. And even when you buy the ticket, for what it's worth, you buy the ticket on your phone. So in China, for instance, they like it's very well built up society. So everything
Yeah.
is goes back to your mobile phone. And
Yeah.
what ends up happening is you buy the ticket on your phone. You have the ticket automatically connected to your government ID or passport if you're a foreigner.
Yeah. They
And
have
all you need
WeChat,
to
right?
do,
They
so they
call it
don't check your.
WeChat.
You don't need the ticket. You don't actually need your ticket. You don't need anything. All you need is your ID, and you scan your ID, and you automatically have your ticket ready to go.
Oh wow. Yeah.
You don't ever keep your ticket anymore. There's no. I need to keep papers. I need to keep receipts. No, no, no. You buy the ticket. It's automatically embedded in your
And you
passport or
also
your government ID, and all you do is you just scan your ID at a terminal. There's not even a person. You just put it in there, beep, and you're all done.
now they use they call it WeChat, correct? They call it.
Yeah, that is so that even the ticket terminal thing, for the train, that's also in WeChat. So the only app you need in China was WeChat. That's all you needed.
Oh wow.
Like you're
And
not downloading a train app, an airplane app, a taxi app. You're not downloading other apps. You're not good downloading a Google Maps. You're not downloading anything. All you need is WeChat, and your
and you're
payments
all
are
good
done
to
for
go.
everything's done from that one app. So it was super incredible. The only thing that made me nervous is coming from a North American society for a little bit. You don't always actually need your phone. Like you could still wing it with your credit card. You could still wing it with cash. You can manage with other
Yes.
forms of payment. In China, it was all your mobile phone. Everything you needed was on your mobile phone. So I became super paranoid when I had 20% battery life and I wasn't back in my hotel. I said,
Hmm.
how am I going to make it back? And I would go back to my hotel just to charge my phone again and then go back out again because for whatever reason I didn't have a battery backup charger thing. I didn't think that was important to have.
But I
But
tell you what, they do have the infrastructure for it. So what they do have, I know they have this. You can rent battery chargers where you can go into a little machine. And it's all over the place. I've seen in some videos because they do know the importance of your phone now, and it needs to be always on. You add you put it in, you add, you scan your phone as well and give you a little battery charger, keep charging, and then you go to the next station, you put it back in. It's like, the little scooters. I don't know if you have them in Windsor. In Edmonton, we have these little scooters called Bird and whatnot, when you can just charge and put them somewhere. Same idea, same exact idea. And you'd be like, damn, I mean, if you have the infrastructure for it, then hey, why not?
yeah, why not?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was amazing. So to me, my impressions of China, and this can actually go into our next conversation, but they are way ahead of anything I've seen in North America.
Mm,
Like you put
mm.
me in any city in Canada or in the US, and China is at least 50 years ahead. At least 50 years ahead. So, that kind of goes into our next subject. with what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now. We're with Vision 2030 and building into the future. What
Yeah,
is the latest and greatest going on there? What is the word on the street, Amar? Give us a little bit of insight for us that don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, the word on the street is work, work, work. I feel again. I'm not. I cannot say I'm heavy, but you can see you feel it in the air. Work, work, work. Production, production, production. Timelines are coming up. We I think we have the Asian Club coming up very soon, and the World Cup coming up afterwards. And you've seen the last World Cup, Qatar did a great job, and I'm sure Saudi wants to show that you know what the welcoming the FIFA to all over the the Arab world. I think there's one in Morocco also happening between Morocco and Spain, and there's one actually in Canada and the US coming up the World Cup. It's a great event, so no voice is higher than production. Work, you don't have really, what should we call it? The liberty of making a lot of mistakes, which can be challenging because every project there's some downsides to it if you didn't plan it correctly. So I think now it's we're in production phase, we're in execution phase. You can feel it in the air. You can feel that things are being pushed now, and things are really getting addressed. How can we have an operational city like Riyadh, for example, and transform it to this World Cup hosting with all the infrastructure and everything in just 5 years? So um, you can feel this in the air, definitely, and yeah, and we're here to help, hopefully. Yeah. How do you guys?
So
What
let's
do you
talk.
guys hear right now? And I think the
I think a lot of my friends are all looking to buy World Cup tickets here in Toronto. I think that's
right.
everyone's big goal in life right now is to try and figure out a way to get their life savings and buy a ticket for the game for any team. Team is
Yeah.
irrelevant at this point. They just want to they want to take their yearly income and
Just
drop it
let me
on
in.
one game.
Just let me in. And just let me in at this point.
That's what it
Yeah,
seems like.
I wonder how if they did have a World Cup in China, right? When they did the drones. Yeah, that was crazy. That's the first time we see the drones are like giving shapes and stuff, 3D in the air. That was something, that's coordination and a lot of planning, lots of planning. I can tell you that for sure. Yeah.
No,
How's the
the
weather over
Chinese
there?
have done a great job. The Chinese have done a great job.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I would go there. I'm really looking forward to my first trip to China. Said my father when
It's
he
easy
went
to
there,
go, by the
he
way.
was
It's
amazed.
actually it's super easy to go.
Mm,
There's a lot more. Uh, there's this air of fear or caution when going there. But for me, it was super easy. You have to get your visa, obviously. It's you can't just walk in. You got to get a visa. You have to be um, granted, a
yeah.
visa, if you will. But once
What
you're
about the
there,
language barrier? Did you feel the language barrier there?
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. Language barrier is
Really?
enormous,
Yeah.
enormous. Yeah, the language barrier.
Yeah.
They it's an economy, it's a society that is so confident in itself that it doesn't
Mm,
need anybody else. And that's the feeling you get the whole time. These are our
mm.
traditions, this is our language, this is our food, take it or leave it. And that's the
Yeah,
attitude. You know what I mean?
but if you're promoting yourself as business and investors grabber, I mean, you need to lay away a little bit
No,
to
they
show
they've
them
become like the
look
manufacturers
at
of
it.
everything now, and even their reputation overall has improved so dramatically. Like
True,
before
true.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you said something's made in China, it would be automatically associated with it with poor quality. But I would
Yeah,
argue now that these made in China items are much better quality. Like I think now
mm,
the newer poor quality is maybe India as an example, right? Like
yes,
the buck has basically been passed on because now with the Chinese and all their vehicles, I'll tell you that their quality is extremely impressive. Like I
yeah.
was in China on the street walking, and I could not recognize a single vehicle on the road.
Oh, really? Oh,
Every car
BYD,
was a
right?
brand.
Was
Yeah,
BYD
every
one of
car was a brand I never heard of, never seen before, don't know what it is, don't recognize the logo, and it was insane. It was insane. Of course, once in a while you would see a Porsche, or once in a while you'd see a BMW, or even a Tesla for that matter.
mm,
But outside of like high end cars, like the normal car, I
hmm
there is no North American car there. There is no
what,
gas car there for that matter. It
what
is such a
I was
electric
just gonna
society.
ask you, how's the air quality there? Like, I mean,
Oh, phenomenal, phenomenal. It is
for
so
real?
much more approved. I had actually went there previously for leisure, maybe 10, 13 years ago, and I remember seeing smog, very very similar, if you will, to Egypt, where
Mm,
you would look in the sky and you would see this thick cloud above you
mm,
in tall buildings, right? But China, it became very similar to the atmosphere here in North America, where it's you see the sky, you can actually see
yeah.
life.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? You can
Oh,
see
wow.
stars.
Wow.
So it's a huge improvement.
Yeah. They took this. They made it like a nation target, a nation goal to improve their air quality. I've seen them, putting green everywhere. And you know what? Someone else told me that you actually don't hear any noise. I mean, you'd expect with
Yeah,
this high
you're right.
population, there is no noise because there's no motors. The motors are not made. Well, there is motors, but they're DC motors in my language, and you don't hear the. It's just smooth and
It's actually abnormal how quiet it is. So as
really,
soon as I got out my hotel and I walked into a street, and I was in Shanghai, so I was in a pretty decent neighborhood, a lot of cars, like it wasn't rural, so there should be tons of traffic, and there was tons of traffic, tons of cars, tons of traffic, tons of people walking, not a single sound, not a single sound,
wow,
not even a car honk.
wow,
Even when they have an opportunity to make noise, it was almost as if there's a actual intention to make things quiet, and
wow.
it boggles the mind.
Well, do they work from 8 to 5? Dumb question, sorry, but
They're working all the time. To be quite honest, they're working all the time. Like
yeah,
I'd never seen a society so organized, so willing to work. Like this wasn't meant to be a praise China episode, but I'll tell you,
no, no,
they are doing a phenomenal job. They are doing a phenomenal
yeah,
job. I didn't see homeless people. I didn't see people doing drugs. I didn't see any sort of annoying things on the street.
yeah,
It was so clean, so decent, so safe.
yeah.
It,
I
it,
mean,
it it really made you reconsider everything you hear on TV and everything you see, because it was nice. It was actually nice.
and did you know people who actually live there? I mean, remember, you just went there for
Yeah,
what,
so I
couple a
met with
couple
a
of
bunch
days,
of
or
I met with clients that actually work there, that work in a Chinese industry, and work as a manager, and work as a yeah, and I said, okay, there was only one moment when you could feel the difference. I'm like,
mm,
okay, so what are you doing in the summer? You have any plans for vacation? And he looked at me, he's like, what? No, I'm working. I'm like, okay,
Vic, what?
my mistake. Brought up a sensitive subject. So vacation, these things they haven't really come to that thing yet. But you know what? He wasn't complaining, to be quite honest. He
Really?
wasn't complaining that he had to work. He didn't complain that he's away from his kids. He wasn't complaining about anything, to be honest.
And
To the extent, let me actually even wrap up this with this one point. He actually said that his family lives 3 hours away, and that the
oh,
Chinese government rents him a house close to his work that is fully furnished, fully paid for, as long as he's working. So the government
oh wow.
even helps to get people in areas that they might not have work, to get them an area that has work, and even give
Ooh,
them a place to live so they can go to work.
oh wow.
So
Wow.
it's something. Now, mind you, he's
Wow.
not living with his wife and kids. They are all there. They're only paying for him to move. But
Hmm.
still, I thought that was incredible.
Yeah. Well, remember in Saudi they do the same. They give you like for employees they give them like incentives and for accommodation and so forth. Uh, but what I'm thinking is, did you discuss with him family life? You know, coming from North America, the whole culture. I'm sure it's a big cultural gap there. But how does it feel? Like, does he feel welcome? Does he feel, it's weird? Do people look at him in the street that this is okay? This is weird, or I always, I don't know. I never been there, so I'm kind of curious.
So you know what? Um, it's different for sure. There are some subtle differences, but I have somewhat of a restrictive diet in what I eat and what I don't eat. So I would
Mm,
always go to restaurants that serve meat that I could eat and things like that.
mm,
And it was uh, everything was okay. Like once you know where to go and what to do, everything's fine.
yeah.
Everything is pretty much fine, to be honest.
Uh,
So, you just manage, and people were very polite. I'll be honest. People were super duper polite.
mhm,
People in the hotel were very kind. People on the street were very decent. Even when the police officers needed to give me some sort of directions that I was going in an area I shouldn't go, they knew I didn't speak the language. They knew that I didn't know what I was
mm,
doing, and they were dealing with me in a very decent way. Like for a person that has zero language, right? Like I don't speak
yeah.
Mandarin. I have zero. Like not even like hi, how's it going? Like I got zero. They would
Yeah.
get their phone out and they would do like a Google Translate in whatever app they're using, and they would give me
Mm,
whatever they're telling me. So they're
the
willing, like
directions.
they're not like rude or mean. They're very respectful. Everyone I fought was very respectful. So
Mm,
as long as you're given respect, you can manage anything.
you
It's
get
it's when you don't
respect.
have this respect, it's when you feel you're being taken advantage of, it's when you feel you're being scammed. That's when you get a bad taste in your mouth. But
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
nothing like that from there. There was nothing like that from there.
I've seen a clip on YouTube. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's all this rich 1% in the US, and their kids are actually speaking Mandarin, and they're singing in Mandarin. And the other day I saw, what's his name? The Facebook guy, Mark what? Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg? Is that what's Zuckerberg? And he did the whole interview with journalists in Mandarin. And you were like,
Wow.
hmm, what does that tell me as the normal Joe? That the
Yeah.
1%, all their kids and grandkids speak Mandarin fluently, and you start putting, so what am I? Why am I? Why am I learning third language? Why am I learning French or Spanish? I think it's time for Mandarin to teach my kids, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you see how evolved they are as a society, and you come
Mm,
back here, you don't know. You don't know where you are. You're like, how did this happen? That's what I keep saying till now. Like I go to a city, I'm like, I constantly compare it back to China now. That is my metric in terms of a, I don't know if I would call it a successful civilization or what modern day society should be like, but
mhm.
it is engraved in my mind that the Chinese have done something incredible for their people. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. I did a paper on Chinese economy at the University of Alberta. I think it got a A or A plus years ago, and but it was specifically on economy, the Chinese economy, and how is it impacting versus the U.S. and a little bit of capitalism versus socialism, and you know it was good attraction. But one thing that I learned is they are they know how to plan, and maybe we can being an engineering hot like podcast. Uh, Maybe it's worth that we investigate how China plan for what they have built. I think it's worth a little talk, and hopefully we can bring someone over, like a guest, and talk to us through it. Like, how did they plan all of this? I mean, it didn't happen just day and night. It happened through years and maybe decades for China to reach that level of technology and monetary or civilization. So yeah, what do you think?
No, absolutely. I think they've done an incredible job, and I think that takes us into the next subject. Um, with Saudi, right? And what are you seeing in terms of projects being made? What are you seeing in terms of, using, because you're kind of on the ground, you're seeing all these different things. So one thing a lot of people ask, and a lot of people are looking up, and I found this for us actually to talk about a little bit, is the hidden costs of engineering mistakes, right? So this is the complete opposite of good planning, right? This
Yeah,
is the complete opposite of what we're seeing now. I'm sure you've stumbled into these sort of things during your life and in this
yeah,
industry, but like, what kind of things have you seen in terms of engineering? What kind of things have you seen in terms of when they got the wrong spec, or they said, what, we don't need to go to this level, let's go a little bit cheaper. What what
yeah,
what sort of things are happening?
yeah. Well, this not only for Saudi, right? But this is everywhere, where many people perceive engineering and architects and that what they just do things on papers. Uh, the contractors usually gets all the praise because they actually built, but the the less planning we have, the more cost it is. The less coordination we have at the engineering side and the planning side, the more cost we have, and many. And I'll be frank here. You find this mostly coming from the clients. For example, um, I'm sure our listeners know there is something called BEM, building, uh, what should we call it, Revit and like modeling, right? Building information model, they call it BEM. And we utilize the most famous software for it is Revit, where you actually build the building or the infrastructure or the city even sometimes using software that coordinate with all disciplines, civil, underground, mechanical, electrical, everything. And you can do energy modeling, you can do uh, everything. It's a simulation to what you get. Right? Now, this comes at a cost. No engineering firm will do this 3D modeling and this deep coordination for less than 2D work like AutoCAD and everything, which still works, but I'm talking about higher level, more complex projects. And we find clients don't want to, invest much in 3D, or they think it's a luxury to have a 3D model, and they think this is just something to sell. What we have found, and we can get I know a professor at the University of Alberta, and he's head of planning department and project management department. He will tell you that the amount that are being invested into the engineering part and doing the model at that stage is way cheaper and way cost effective than actually doing it in 2D and executing based on 2D. Nothing wrong with 2D, but when you have everything is built for you to a level of details that there's no surprises on site. You know how it is. Each discipline contractor, they know what they're doing. They have a sheet of paper that coordinates everything, and they just work and execute and build. This on itself is a great plus. Not a lot of people like to invest in it, but then when execution happens, that's when they feel it. That's when they feel, oh, okay, I should have you know put it in and discussed it and give engineers more time in planning to do that work. I don't think it's a luxury anymore. And I think soon, especially in Canada and the US and here, I think surely they started to recognize that, it's time for us to uh, have this model from day one. So we're starting to build model from day one because what some engineering firms do, they do an AutoCAD in 2D and then they switch to 3D afterwards. But what we're seeing right now that some municipalities in their projects they require from day one uh, the model to be built, which is great for planning, minimize the risk of error, minimize the risk, the cost of bad planning, as you call it. So we see this is happening and coming up, and yeah, and it's great. We love it as engineers. It's good investment for us, and it's good investment for the client. The amount they pay afterwards, as I mentioned, it can be ridiculous because of 2% extra on engineering fees or 3% extra on engineering fees, but it makes a whole lot of difference. And by the way, this goes for the industries as well. Like we do, if we're doing projects for manufacturing facilities, we do the simulation, and we find, yeah, there's a little investment there, but in the execution part, it's easy, and the client can sit there and see the whole process of manufacturing in front of their eyes live before they hit the go button. So yeah, we're still pushing for this culture. We love that culture as engineers, and we're really pushing for it.
I would
Yeah.
imagine that the accuracy that you would be able to get from a 3D rendering versus a 2D rendering would be dramatic, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah.
And
Oh
even
yes.
for the person responsible to see the project, you know, because since as human beings we don't really see in 2D, I would imagine that you could miss a lot of things
Oh
from
yeah.
2D. And when you go to 3D, you just have that so much of a better feeling of
And
what you're
coordination.
actually building, what's actually being created.
Coordination. Most of the hiccups that happens in projects is with coordination. I have a cable running that way in a cable tray. At the same time, there's a duct, for example, for mechanical, and you go inside, you'll be like, hmm, how, how come I did not catch that part? Uh, underground, underground coordination when it comes to civil work versus mechanical, fire hydrants, cables, you name it, right of ways for cables and everything else, every infrastructure, utilities. Uh, and it costs a lot to swerve away from these errors on site because you have labor on site, which is, costs money. You have equipment. You have the whole team is just waiting now for this planning to be done, which leads the project cost wise. So it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but to mitigate this risk, I would rather invest more in the engineering side of things through simulations and 3D rendering and everything else. Uh, it will cost way less in the future. It's just that some clients they think that, you know what, we're just gonna hit the ground. They're so excited to start working. They're so excited to see their business coming up, and usually with this excitement and spirit, they miss the planning slash engineering part, and usually engineering get the blame for it. But it's part of our work.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I would imagine that's a common thing, to be honest. I can't imagine if you have the option of doing it in 3D that you would do it in 2D and not come to the conclusion that you would save a ton of time and
Oh
money
yes.
because it would in my mind it's perfectly planned if it's in
Oh
3D like that is going to be what it is. Like there's not going to be oh didn't see this like
yeah.
unless you really suck at doing it in 3D, you should pretty much get it all. I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah, and it's easier for the untrained eye to catch it. Like you can see that you give it to a client who, for example, just an investor doing subdivisions, developers. They don't know much about engineering and architectural work and planning and design. They catch it. It's easier for them to catch things, catch everything because they see it, they navigate through it. And I remember we had this VR in Edmonton where you put the VR in and the client actually goes inside the model and walk through it. Remember back in the day? No, not back in the day. It's the 3D games. Remember Doom
Of course.
and I don't know if you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
a gamer. So that
Still am a
actually
gamer.
happens.
Still am a gamer.
So you put the VR in, we give the client the VR, and that was in Alberta office, and they went into a model, and they went through the building, walked each level, They had comments as they went, and we recorded their comments. It was an amazing experience, and yeah. And now with the whole industry, and now the Vision 2030 to jump to Industry 4.0, we're offering this. We're saying, hey, you know what? How about when we do the work or the planning, let's put part of that planning and our study, the simulation, how your facility will look like after we implement those studies and those projects to enhance, to jump up to upgrade your facility to Industry 4.0. How's it going to look like? How people will work, and actually shows people handing over, materials. Where's your shelving will be? Where's your production lights? Where's your conveyor lines? Everything, and it shows it live, and what it's going to take. And we actually sometimes, well, many times, we give ROIs. You know how long this will take, and how much you'll save, and how much waste it will save you. So, and the client sees this live, and they can, they're not experienced maybe in little details, engineering details when it comes to industry, but they can point things out. Be like, oh no, I want the restroom there. I want the production line there because the truck comes this way. And they give live, comments, which we can integrate in our final submission. So yeah, it's a great tool, and again, it's a little bit of investment, but it saves a lot along the way. Saves a lot, definitely.
Now talking about these sort of investments, one of the biggest investments is the team that you work with. Are the fresh graduates or the experts that are already working with you? Now, let me ask you, in terms of having the students come on board and start working with you versus how many people are already working, what do you find is the gap in the education system right now? Or is there a gap? Or are the engineers that are graduating, are they ready to roll right away? Do they know everything, then they're ready to work? Like, especially when you're mentioning these 3D models and stuff like it, are these things that people are graduating with the ability and know how to use? Or do you find that, you know you got these graduates, you put them in a chair to start working, and you're basically starting from zero? What does it look like over there?
So, well, again, that can be taken everywhere. Universities, they do a great job teaching the theory, right? Uh, I have no complaints, and you hear a lot that people say that the real life is different than what you have learned in universities, right? Well, duh, of course. I mean, you're learning theories, and now you're going to implement them. Learning the theory is something being academia, and going for implementation is definitely something different. Uh, I don't like, personally, I don't like to the fact that people think that university is somehow far away from implementation and practices. I think learning the theory is always going to be number one. Is the know the logic behind things. Yeah, you're not going to see it in 100%, but you know the background, and that gives you flexibility when you go ahead the road, of implementation and practices. If something is missing or something in the code for your specific practice is not fulfilling, you know the logic behind how did we get here, so you can go back and reshape your solutions based on your projects and the environment and everything else. And that's what we try to teach our young engineers, and either in Canada or in Saudi. And I hope they're hearing me out. And I do mentorship at the University of Alberta sometimes. Uh, it's very exciting to try to take the a Monday for Young engineer and somehow somewhat twisting, because at the end of the day we apply science, right? What engineering is applied science. We take science, twist it around to serve humanity. And this attitude that we're trying to teach, that okay, when you work, there's coordination with contractors. You will be working with many people that might not have the same experience as yours, maybe more, maybe less. How to navigate through this and have the soft skills, enough soft skills to be able to implement theories as we go forward. Uh, and we've been successful. At least I enjoy, maybe because I enjoy it. I do enjoy teaching young engineers, and I'm giving them my experience either as an engineer or as an entrepreneur. Uh, it's always fun to see to see the fruit of these studies. I had many engineers work for us, and now they are advisors for big, uh, huge firms, and they still call me till today, and they still ask for advice and little consultation here and there, and I really do appreciate it. So yeah, uh, do not do not separate theory with practical with implementations and execution. It's not the best thing, and we hear it a
Yeah,
lot, but kind of against it.
yeah, I think that's important because there's a lot of people that have this impression that the skills that you're learning in university sometimes don't really apply. But I think in order to build, and by all means, correct me if I'm wrong here,
Mm,
that it's so important to actually have that foundation to actually build upwards. Because if you don't have that solid theory, if you don't really understand how and why, I don't think you can go into the future and create appropriately. Like your metrics will be always off. Your maximums will never really be there because you just aren't as certain as you should be, because these theories basically help you to find that foundation, to find that basic, okay, this is where we go and this is how we do it. And then your
mm,
job as a young fresh graduate is to connect the gaps. Okay, based on the theory I
yes.
know, let's go here. Let's build it upwards.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. 100%. You hit the nail on its head. So, uh, I mean, there are now easier ways to grab knowledge, which is online courses and everything, and they're great. But I always tell engineers, you need to know the theory. You need to know how did we get here. Give the context of this knowledge that we are implementing for humanity, and to serve clients and everyone else. How did we get there as theory wise? That gives them a lot of flexibility and gives them a lot of confidence. They're not afraid to go back and reassess. And that's very important to us as engineering firm, and every engineering firm. I'm sure they can relate to what we just said and talked about. Yeah,
I would imagine for sure. And then I
yeah,
had one subject I think is very important,
yeah.
and this subject is probably super important for multiple reasons. But I know there is a huge movement. Sorry, that there's a huge movement in what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now and building right now. And I know there's a lot of, from what I can gather, there's a lot of people that want to apply, very simple concepts. Okay, it's hot in Saudi, therefore all I need to do is add air conditions. Uh,
Yeah.
can you actually tell us that it's a little bit more than that? Because I keep hearing this from other people and other sources that, you know what, add an extra air condition unit. What's the difference? Just that's all you need.
Okay. I'll try to make it as simple as I can for mechanical engineers, and any mechanical engineer who hears. I'm sure they can, speak better than me, way better than me on that subject. It's not always about increasing your AC or putting freon on your AC, right? There are many factors that gets into it. First and foremost, your pressure. For example, if I have an AC in one room and the other room I don't have an AC, you know, it will run. The pressure theory. High pressure goes to low pressure, and cold, again, mechanical engineers, they can speak way better than me on that with that regards. Uh, uh, this on its own, so it's not you add extra AC, now we're happy. And you see this in Canada, by the way. In the basement, the temperature in the basement is always colder than it is on the first and second floor in your house, right? Why is this? Because it's the pressure difference and everything else. Insulation. plays a huge part of it as well. How good is your building being insulated? Don't give me a building built made of glass and whole facade, nice facade, and you tell me you can use the same unit as you're using for a place that is a cube that is, nothing in it, and it's all well insulated. No, you'll use probably less, which trickles down to energy, which trickles down to usages. Little things like this affect the whole system, the whole environment, the whole every discipline. Electrical will be affected, civil will be affected, everything will be affected. So throwing in air conditioning just because it's hot, just like this, uh, uh, it's very premature, I would say, uh, uh, way of tackling that problem. And there's dusts, for example. There's humid aspects to the weather. Uh, so yeah, picking up just saying, hey, I'm gonna throw it's cold. Let me throw more air conditioning in. Might not be the most efficient, cost, effective way to to solve such problem here down in Saudi and even in California. I lived in Texas for some times, and we always had these arguments. And mechanical engineers, I see them, pulling their hair out, trying to explain to people. Yes, it's hot, but it's not always the solution to add more AC or more powerful AC. It can be as simple as good insulation or as simple as new architectural design, and it can solve the problem. And moving walls here and there, and that's it. So yeah, it's devil in the details. But I'm sure when we bring a mechanical engineer with us here, they can really explain to you why this is not the optimal solution. Just throw AC in. Yeah,
And is it more than just climate that's the difference? Like, is that the only factor that engineers are looking for? Is that hot or cold? Is there or are there other things that influence how you would design or how you would plan?
yeah. Well, there's, as I said, there's pressure, there's dust. The area you're putting in is it, for example, if there's a client for petrochemical, and they have particles that, there are certain particles in the air, and each particle is different exhaustion um, for it. For example, in paint shop, and if you have a body shop and you have a paint booth, the AC and the HVAC system in that little area is different than, for example, let's say when you sit down at the reception. It's way different. A fire hazard plays a role in it as well. I mean, how fast you want your makeup air unit, fresh air coming in. So yeah, there's many aspects when it comes to mechanical design. Again, I'm speaking from mechanical. My background is electrical, but you see them all the time because it affects power. 'Cause us and mechanical, we intersect, and they are our nemesis, and we are theirs as well.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Because sometimes they change things without letting the electrical team know, and electrical team be like, "Oh, you increased my power. Now I need to do everything else." So, but I'm sure we'll discuss this when we bring a mechanical engineer over, and then you'll hear many discussions in that regards. Yeah,
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I
yeah,
think we've taken plenty of your time for one day, Amar. There's
yeah.
millions of other questions we have. You know what I mean? Like me
Oh, for
myself,
sure.
I have questions about modularity. I got questions for resilience. Even what's going on right now in terms of Vision 20. Like there's just so many questions. But I think we need to give our listeners a break, let them
Hundred
enjoy
percent.
their day as well. You know what I mean? But I want to obviously thank you for your time.
Hey,
I know
thank you
you're
very much.
extremely busy. I know there's so much going on, and you got tons of stuff going on. So it's always great to have you come on the show for a bit and give us the updates. Give us the you know the
What's going on?
live updates. What's going on the street? You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely, definitely. It's my pleasure, and that's why we have this podcast. We want to make sure that we give right information, even if we said something that we think, might not be applicable. I'll make sure that the next episode we um, we give you the right answer, and want to make sure that people who tune in benefit from this. podcast little projects that we have here. And yeah, uh, I wish everyone the best.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Thank you. See ya.